There?
Yeah,
Now okay.
gotta love technology.
I just don't see you.
I don't know why you can't see me though, because I'm
I
live.
don't, I don't know.
I don't know, but I could see you. Let's
Although
see.
it doesn't show me live on mine.
Died. Let's see.
Yeah, it's not showing me live on mine. So the people that were logged in to do live, it's not, let's see. Maybe I don't see it live, but
Mhm.
maybe we're good.
Yeah, I see people joining.
Okay, then maybe we're good.
I'm gonna also.
Sorry, everyone. We had to go back a different route. So we had different technology at first, but we are going to get started shortly.
Yes, more of I'm more of a therapy person than a tech person.
So
But
we were on one stream and took a
which
different
I
stream.
like
So
that stream a lot better because at least I could do it from my laptop and the quality just looks a lot better over there. But we're gonna make it do what it do. It's okay. And we'll learn what to do for next time. So
I mean,
I'm
we are getting
still
started.
trying to figure out why you are not showing live. I know I'm showing live, but you've
I,
joined my live, which doesn't that automatically make you live?
I'm not sure, but we can go ahead and get started. I think I see people coming in, so
I
we
do.
can go ahead and get started.
So yes, it is so good to see you.
That was good to see you too. It is good to see you. So I just want to give a preference so that everybody kind of knows what we're doing, and what we're talking about is mental health awareness and suicide prevention and awareness. And so we have Tami Chambers here, and she is a mental
Oh,
health
somebody says we're
therapist.
both live. Yay!
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you. I can't see you guys on my phone, so sorry. Uh, so, Tammy, won't you give us a little information about yourself?
Okay. So my name is Tami Chambers. Hopefully you guys are hearing me well too. Um, I am an outpatient therapist in the state of Florida. My specialty is trauma. So I usually work with clients who are dealing with various traumas, childhood traumas, compound traumas, which is like, a number of different traumas. I work with all ages, pretty much from ages of the youngest client I've ever had was 3.
Oh, wow.
The oldest client I have is in their 60s. So I usually work with all ages, all backgrounds, all nationalities. So yeah. But
Oh,
of course, I know you from a past employer, which, by the way, I am returning.
oh, awesome.
I'll be teaching psychology. So,
Awesome, awesome, awesome.
yeah, yes.
Congrats on that.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, um, I'm gonna go ahead and get started because I know that we kind of had some technical difficulties in the beginning, but kind of want to go over like with mental health with today's day and age. We see a lot of mental health issues. We see a lot of people talk about mental health more than we have seen in the past. So one of my things, to ask is like, what are some of the challenges that we are seeing in this day and age that's different from when we were growing up?
Right. So, what I can see today, I first of all, I want to give kudos to, my community. Like, although I am here for, like I said, all nationalities, but specifically my people I want to talk about. Growing up, what got me into psychology was just the fact that people that were close to me, people that I knew of, I did not know anybody in therapy. It wasn't anything that was common for Black people. I had never heard of anyone having a therapist. I remember getting my degree in 2014 and just saying how I wanted to be able to give back to my community because of the lack of, utilization of therapy at that time. And I remember my friends and colleagues, they would tease me and say, well, you're not going to make any money because Black people don't go to therapy. And I can say now in 2024, I'm really excited because I would say 80% of my clientele are Black. We are
Right.
getting therapy these
That's
days.
good.
We
That's
are. And,
good.
and I love that for us. I can say, though, some of the challenges that even though we are getting therapy, we still have a long road to go, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the reason that is because you have to understand transparency.
Mm-hmm.
You have to understand self awareness, self actualization. And what I mean by that, even me working as a therapist, I work with clients all day, day in and day out. And what I've learned is that the ones that can be most effective are the ones that are completely open and honest and transparent. A lot of times you'll have clients that will tell their, therapists what they want to hear,
Mm-hmm.
not be completely transparent with what they're experiencing, um, not being completely transparent with what they're dealing with. It's kind of like, and it also determines what's important is to know why are you in therapy? What initiated the process? Was it Baker acted? Was it, your parents wanted you to go? Your significant other? It helps that you are in therapy because you want to be. That's first.
Okay.
Um, so those are just some of the challenges that I am kind of dealing with still just making sure that people are in therapy, one, because they want to be, and two, because they want to be completely transparent as far as the level of assistance that they need and what they're truly experiencing on a day-to-day.
And I know you talked and mentioned about the community because I feel like there's still a stigma, even though we're getting better as African American or people of color when it comes to mental health these days. Uh, what do you think we should do or need to do to kind of like break that stigma of mental health? Because I know growing up, if someone talked about therapy, they were like, "You're crazy. Like there's something wrong with you."
Mhm, mhm,
So, what
mhm.
are some of the things that you think we need to do to like help break this stigma that
Right,
as a
right,
community, you know, get the help we need?
right. So interesting. I wrote my thesis in 2014, just regarding the stigma around, Black community and therapy, and a lot of those stigmas were related to, like you said, oh, you're crazy. I had a client the other day. Her family member was like, it's time for you to get on with your shrink. I was like, I haven't heard that name in so long. Like I said, why did he call me your shrink? She's like, oh, my family, they all call you my shrink, which was interesting because again, I had just not heard that term in the longest time. But for one, to have this ideology that you're crazy, which I really hate the term crazy because it's so subjective. Because here's the reality: we all can be one situation away from crazy. We really
Oh,
can.
yeah.
We really can. So to throw out that term, this one's crazy, like what does that even mean? And also understand, so I'm a woman of a particular age. We won't go into ages, right? But growing up, oh, I see someone on live that I haven't seen in a long time. Hi, Octavio. Okay, but um, you know, growing up in the Black community, we didn't need therapy because we had church, right?
Right.
So if you were dealing with any issues, if you had any challenges, behavior problems, mental problems, physical problems, whatever it was, you went to church, right?
Mhm.
And you know, the pastor would pray for you, and the pastor would lay hands on you. And listen, I'm all for the church. My brother's a pastor, you know, so I definitely believe in the power of healing and the power of God. But let's also remember, God created doctors. God created professionals in the mental health field for a reason, right?
Mhm.
So we want to be able to just have these discussions, because this whole crazy is just, it's just that. It's a misconception. Um, you know, I'm a therapist, and I still, my company requires me to go to therapy. Okay. So it's a matter of maintenance. It's a matter of being able to really be able to just voice what it is that you're going through, because at the end of the day, you know, I keep hearing this term that started a couple of years ago, dumping. I don't know if you've ever
No.
heard of that word.
No.
So dumping is when you speak with someone else about your problems, and you're kind of dumping your problems onto them, which I just thought that's what friends or family did. But listen, we're in this day and age, we're dealing with a lot on
Mhm.
like every level, right? From just inflation, from politics, to you know, our own personal struggles, our whatever it may be. So is it an ideal situation to want to dump your problems on others when they're probably dealing with their own problems, you know?
Definitely.
uh, I can say that therapy can be an array of different avenues. It doesn't necessarily have to be or methods. It doesn't have to necessarily be laying on someone's couch and, you know, talking about your troubles, you know. But what identifying what you need, what an individual, because we're all different, you know. And you sent me some questions last night as far as what will we be talking about today, and they were really, really good questions, you know. And I know we're going to get into all of that, but I do want to specify individuality.
Mhm.
You know, what works for you may not work for others. But the key to therapy, if that's the route that you want to try or you feel that you can benefit from, the key to it, and my daughter and I, we were having this discussion, I think last night or this morning, is just making sure that you pretty much connect with the right therapist. That's going to be first and foremost, you know,
Right.
and identifying what type of therapist do what I feel most comfortable with, you know, because therapy is it's sacred, and
Yeah.
it's going to uncover so many things that you've dealt with in life. It's really going to deal with a lot of topics that you have to be able to let your guard down. And if you are not able to let your guard down with the therapist that you're with, please get another therapist, you know?
It's good to say that because with the foundation, one of the things that we offer, or what the foundation offers, is the therapy sessions that we will pay for, at least like the first three. So one of the things that I say is that, you know, find a therapist that you feel comfortable with, you know, someone you feel like you can relate to, talk with. So that is one of the things that we say to them.
Exactly, exactly. You know, my daughter talked about, well, I don't want anybody old. I don't want nobody that's gonna be like my mom. Listen, I don't even know if it's about an age thing. It's about a connection thing. Are you able to connect with that therapist? You know, a lot of my clients are mainly teenagers and children, and you know, I guess I'm considered old, but luckily we have the ability to connect with each other because, it's just really about letting your guard down to whomever that may be. And again, if you don't have that, what I found, and I was telling someone this before, what I have found is that my young Black males, I have a tendency to have a problem with them. And when I say a problem, I mean as far as opening, I won't say all of them because I never like to generalize in any topic, right? But a lot of times I find that they are the ones that I have the hardest time, getting that connection and really being able to break through. So I remember one time somebody said to me, well, maybe it's just that they need a male therapist, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And again, it may not be for them all, but I tried to understand what the need is, what's going to get them to the point of being able to be open and be receptive and be connected and be engaged, and I'll even ask them, listen, you're doing this for yourself. If this is not a good fit, do you need a male therapist? Do you need a Black male therapist, white male, whatever it may be? Let me know, because without that initial connection, it's just really, it's not going to be conducive for either party, and that's going to be unfortunate.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. And I think, and speaking of, uh, I would say young adult, young male adult, I think kind of hard maybe to get them into therapy. I only can say for Darius, and it was hard to get him to go to therapy when things were bothering him or something. So I don't see where they probably open up as much, and maybe because of the stigma of going to therapy.
Mm-hmm. It is because, again, but one thing I wrote in my thesis many years ago was that, imagine if you had broke your arm, or if you had a toothache, right? I had a toothache last year from hell, and I was running to the dentist. Okay, same
Mm-hmm.
thing if you have a broken bone, if you have a flu, whatever, you're going to run to the doctor to get the help that you need. And it needs to be the same with mental health. Like, no one can tell you what you need. You're supposed to be your own, you should be in tune with yourself that mentally, physically, emotionally, you should know for yourself when things aren't right. Like I tell my clients all the time, our bodies are like, well, they should be like a well operating machine, right? So for instance, you have a car, you drive, you can kind of tell when something's not right about with your car. Like if you can kind of hear something or it's just not running correctly, you can only turn up your radio for so long to drown out whatever that sound is, right?
Right.
Eventually you've got to be able to get to a point where, you know what, something's not right, I'm not feeling right, I'm not in the right headspace, and maybe just talking it through to someone. And I understand that the stigma of therapy won't go away completely, but maybe having a loved one that you can go to. And I know that that doesn't happen all the time, too.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times when we have clients in crisis, we do pretty much like a safety plan where we talk about having individuals that you can go to in the time of a crisis and be able to talk about, what it is you're experiencing. And then, of course, 211, that is the international number for, immediate crisis that everybody should know about.
That's good. That's a good to know. Let's make sure uh, that at the end this hotline and, for the 211 and the 988 press hotline. So for
Absolutely.
those that are like dealing with depression, they may not need one right now. What are some of your recommendations as far as like what can help if you're not able to
Right.
get therapy?
So, you know, listen, we all have our days of sadness, right? A lot of times I like to tell my clients about how, oh, it's here, and, how you can change your mindset, and, but you and myself, we've experienced situations where we couldn't be happy if we wanted to, certain,
Right.
because listen, life is going to life, right?
That it is. That it is.
And when it does, how do we get this mindset of, oh, I'm just going to be happy anyway? And what I tell my clients, it's never about waking up every day where, oh, I'm just so happy, I'm just so happy. No, it's about, for one, learning how to be at peace, because life lives, and there are times when we're not going to have control over situations. It's just how things are, right?
Yeah.
But I think what's most important is being able to identify a few things. One is going to be the onset of your depression. When did it start? That's important to know. What triggered it? That's important to know. The longevity of it, that's important to know, because do and there's a very fine line between depression and sadness, right?
Mhm.
So
Okay.
the way I explain it to clients is that depression is more of it's far worse than sadness, because it lasts a lot longer at times. It's more painful at times, and there are signs to look out for as well. And I think that this is important for parents to know as well. Um, when you just no longer enjoy doing the things that you used to, isolation, you're finding that you're isolating yourself from your friends, your family. You are just in, rather a sunken place. And, sadness is different, because although the feelings may be similar, it's the time frame that makes the difference, right? Because a lot of times with sadness, you usually can say, okay, well, because this happened, this is why I'm sad. Sometimes depression, you may not even know why you're depressed.
That's 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 a good thing to know. When you feel like that, like some of the things, and I know because we're all different, and um, it's going to be different for each person. But what are some of the things that you recommend that get you out of that space?
Right. So, what I tell clients to do, first of all, is to identify the things that they once enjoyed. What are those things? Um, understand their home life, their family, their friends, spending time with them, not being left alone. Um, what are their hobbies? As it almost sounds very simple, but it's really the little things. And when I say little things, I'm talking about things as easy as your five senses, you
Mm.
know, sight, taste, hearing it, because again, I think people mistake this they we talk about the pursuit of happiness, right? And how in certain mindsets, certain people may believe that happiness is having, this mansion, or having all this money, but it's the simple things, being able to be in the present, listening to your favorite songs. I have great playlists for my moods, depending on what those are. Um, and I gotta be honest, taste is one of my favorite senses. So I'm probably gonna cook my favorite meal. Um, sight. getting out in nature. A lot of times people talk about the sun and, oh, the sun rays and getting cancer, but the sun is the best source of feeling like yourself, letting the sun rays, just kind of bask against your skin, because it just helps you to feel alive, you know? Certain smells. I would say stop and smell the flowers, being present and being in the moment. But aside from the five senses, because those are just things that you can do right now, right? But aside from that, what I always like to ask my clients, I usually end every session asking, what are you hopeful for? Or what are you looking forward to?
Mm-hmm.
Hope is as that, it's such a small word, but it has probably the biggest meaning and impact ever. Because when you no longer have hope,
Yeah.
that's when you're kind of heading down a very slippery slope, you know?
Yeah.
And I have an acronym that I usually use for hope, which is something that I always kind of carry with me. Having optimistic perspectives eternally, right?
Yeah. I like that.
Because again, I can't reiterate enough. Like I have a friend. She used to always say, "Life be lifing,"
Mhm. It is.
because it just does.
It
It does.
is. Lifing. Lifing.
And when life does what it does, I remember this one actress. What's that actress? She was dating Nipsey Hussle before he passed
Born
away.
London.
Lauren. So she always talked about. I saw this one interview with her, and it was just so impactful. Because again, she was talking about how life is going to do what it does, because that's what it does. Okay, life
Yeah.
is going to do what it does, but a lot of times we have to learn to just kind of flow with the river instead of fighting against the rocks,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And having optimistic perspectives eternally, that means being optimistic in the midst of your trials, in the midst of your challenges. Now, I ain't gonna say it's easy.
No.
I would never sit here and try to make it seem as if it's easy. But it's kind of like exercising. And I know how much you love to
Yes.
exercise, girl. We're going to talk about how I'm going to get back on it, I promise. But just think about how when you first started working out, right? And, you probably started with what, I don't know, 20 weights. You probably started with 40. But either way, you started with, a lower amount of weights, right? But you
Yes.
eventually you worked your way up into, look, what do they call it? Lifting? What are you lifting now?
What, well, I do more squats, so about 2,000 the heavy.
Exactly. So did you walk into the gym doing that?
Oh no. Oh no.
Absolutely not. No. You've built up to it. And it's the same thing with our minds, exercising to get to that point of, man, I could do this. I can overcome this challenge. And you know what I've learned too? It's always in the midst of your trials that your triumph is coming. I've learned that. I've learned when things seem like they can't get any worse.
Something.
It's amazing. But the thing is, people give up.
Yes. Yes.
The challenges get too hard and they give up. I used to always have a friend, she would always say the difference a day makes. And you could literally have your best day and you could have your worst day and your best day all in the same week. You really can. You can probably have your best moment, worst moment all in the same day, because that's just how life is forever changing. But as long as we continue to believe that whatever it is that we are experiencing, it's still up to us to do our best to stay optimistic. And I know that, again, it can't be something that we can just turn on and turn off, but the more you practice it,
Mm-hmm.
the more you can find yourself doing. They say that, uh, the power of the mind. I'm constantly teaching what's called the cognitive triangle. So
Mm-hmm.
you have thoughts, you have feelings, and you have behaviors, right? And the three of those are interconnected. So, for instance, if I am walking around and I'm slamming papers and I'm stomping my feet, and
Yeah.
that's going to imply that I'm angry, I'm upset, right? Which would mean that I'm more than likely feeling angry, which would imply that my thoughts are angry, right? But it
Yeah.
can also work in reverse. If I can have happy thoughts, if I can have optimistic thoughts, I'm going to have optimistic feelings. I'm going to have optimistic behaviors. But it's important to know that the three are connected. So the more we train our minds to have that mentality, again, it's work, but like with your exercise, it 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 comes with practice, consistency.
Yes. Yes. Because there are people that exercise when they give up. I can definitely say that that is something where
I'm saying because it's me.
I'm not calling no names. I'm just saying, I guess I've seen it in the past.
We're gonna work on it. That we'll leave that for another conversation.
Okay, I'll let that go. What do you? What are some of the signs that, like, for who's listening or who may rewatch, whatever, as a friend, as a parent, that you see are maybe some of the signs of depression? I can say from what I saw from my son, but what are some of the signs that others can look out for that maybe they need to get that person additional help?
Right. So it's different for every person, because you know what I found interesting? You know how they say comedians are like the most depressed people? They make people laugh. They come across as being happy and full of joy. So you really have no way of knowing. Um, and if you don't mind, because I don't know if this was like an interview completely about me, but I do want to know, what were some of the signs that you saw within your own son dealing with what he
Yeah.
was going through?
So for him, like, there were moments where um, he would be very manic. Like, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this. And, when he wouldn't complete something that he didn't have to do, he'd be very upset about it. Like, you know, um, he would teach himself how to play the piano, the guitar, taught himself how to speak Spanish. Part of what he wanted to do is he had to do that every day. And he had to do it to the point where if he missed it, like, he was very down on himself. And he was upset. Towards the end, I noticed he would sleep all day. He
Mm,
wouldn't want to get up. He didn't go to work. He didn't want to be around his friends. He just wanted to sleep. And you could tell him, you got to get up, you got to get moving. And those are things I think, get up, take a shower, start feeling good about yourself. I know for me, if I'm not taking like a shower or something, sleep in the bed all day, you start feeling a certain way. At least that's how I felt. And so trying to get him to get up and do those kind of things, those were like normal everyday things he didn't want to do anymore.
right, right.
And for him, he I guess for me, he would tell me he just didn't want to be here.
Hmm.
Want to be here no more. He,
Wow.
he didn't want to live like that anymore. Um, which is very hard to hear, from your child that they don't want to be here anymore. And for him, it was a lot of, like, mentally, your own thoughts, like you were talking about, your own thoughts are taking up for it. And that's why I think it's good to be able to talk with someone, because her thoughts can be
Mhm.
completely wrong and they can't
Mhm.
ever- that was part of his problem.
Wow. Yeah, I would always say your thoughts could be your biggest cheerleader or your worst enemy,
Yes,
you know.
yes.
And listen, I'll never forget the day that, in case people who are on don't know, that your son died by suicide. I remember the day that I heard about your son, and even now, like, you just, you don't really have the words, obviously, because I remember losing my mom at a young age, and I think back to the words that everyone would kind of tell me during, the whole time of finding out that she had passed away. And now hers were from natural causes, I guess, but she had a heart attack. But
Mm.
still, it was just, there were no words. It got to the point where everyone's words, although they had good intentions, were just kind of irrelevant, you know,
Yeah.
superficial at times, pointless at
Mm.
other times, So I never was able to pick up the phone to say anything to you, because I never could imagine what you're going through. But one thing I do want to say, I love the road that you're on today.
Yeah.
That turning trials into triumphs. What you're doing is amazing, and I'm just super glad that I'm able to be a witness to your foundation. However, I can help you grow and spread awareness. I know I mentioned that I was gonna. When I found out, I was like, oh my god, I want to, because I've been wanting to write a book on suicide for the longest time, and that kind of keeps being pushed back to just a life thing. But you've always been in my thoughts.
Thank
You
you.
really have.
Okay. It's one of those things where I think what a lot of people don't understand when it comes to suicide. Um, I think for the people that actually die by suicide, it's not always like just one thing, you know. Um, for him, it was a lot of things. Like mentally, it was a lot of things that um, whatever was causing him not to want to be here. I do go to group sessions for parents that their children died of suicide, and so to hear some of the stories and to hear um, what they went through. Some people don't know why their child took life. Um, some do. I kind of knew he was in deep depression, and that's why my for me to turn this pain into like a purpose is to like help someone some type of way. It's great when you can talk to, like, as you were saying, you have a people to go to, like a tribe, your friends, your
Support
family to go
system.
to,
It's so important. Yeah.
but it's also good to have someone else outside of friends and family
Hmm.
that know can give you advice. Because as a parent, I'm going to tell you, what I think as a mom. Like, I'm going to be like, no, you got to get up, you got to go,
Right.
you got this. But
Right.
as a therapist, you're going to see it in a whole nother light, and
Right.
you're going to ask questions that I'm not going to know to ask.
Right.
And so that's why, for me now to honor him in some type of way, of if I can help someone else so that parent doesn't have to go through it, or family friends, because I realize that the loss of Darius isn't just my loss. It probably hurts me a whole lot more, being a mom, but his loss affected a lot of people. What friends, family, his friends, siblings. So it's not just my loss, and if I can help somebody else, that is what I'm here to do.
Oh, wow. So I think about clients that I have, people like you, and sometimes I know they have to, we were always raised to not question God, and I sometimes sit back and just wonder, how is it that some people have, some real challenges, like amazing. I just can't even fathom some of the things that even some of my clients that are really young have had to deal with, that I'm just like floored, because it's like, wow, why is it that this person or that person has to deal with, these challenges over and over again? But one thing I've realized, and this is one thing I try to share with them, I don't know where everyone is spiritually or what their religious background is, but what I like to tell those who are believers is that, you know, hey, God gives his hardest challenges to certain people because he knows that they can handle it. You know, certain things that some of these clients go through, even yourself, even me being a therapist, I don't even know how I would be able to, although I teach people how to overcome challenges, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to all listen. I love being able to be an advocate for others because it takes the pressure off anything that I could ever be going through. Let me help you,
Right.
you know, that because I feel like that's my strength. That's just
Yeah.
like my passion. I'd much rather deal with others than deal with my own. But the the challenges that are given to people, it's given for a reason, because God knows that not only are you going to overcome it, you're going to be able to overcome it, and be able to have others to learn and to be empowered by your strength. That's got to be something that's amazing.
I read something that said, um, I don't know how you do it, or how, something. Yeah, I saw it online. I don't know how you do it. And it was the parents that had lost children, and they were like, I didn't have a choice. So it wasn't a choice. I just kind of have to pick up from where I'm at now
But
and start
but that part is a
right.
choice. But that part is a choice.
Well, that's yeah, but I mean, to deal with the situation, I didn't have a choice to deal with it. I I kind of have to deal as it is now where I'm at in life for him
You know,
to be gone.
you say that, but listen, although we don't have a choice but to deal with what life throws with us, it's still a choice with how we respond to what has happened to us in life. You could easily give up on life, give up on God, give up on, that beautiful smile that you have. It's still your
Yeah.
choice to still fight the good fight, and I really commend you for it, because yeah. Mm, and I'm really gonna stop there because
Yeah,
we're
I
gonna
gotta
stop
keep
there.
going. I gotta keep going.
Yeah, and I love that, and I love that you're not making it a choice.
Yeah, no, it's a part of me now that, if I can help someone else, let me help someone else. But I think part of who I am has always been kind of help someone else, or
Of course,
even pushed it even more. So
I know.
now it's more of like, how can I help someone in his that may be going through the same thing, especially young adults. I know that, once they turn 26, as far as like insurance, and that's part of how I felt was like, you turn 26, you're no longer on your parents, insurance, you're kind of like you're on your own, you got to do these things on for yourself. And so my biggest thing was like, can I help someone in between the age range that
Of
and
course, that's
back,
really
back
important.
to them? Because like today, like it's harder for them than it is for I was growing up at that
Hmm.
age. I
Right,
was a mom, but I don't feel like I have the same pressures.
right, right, right. You know, And you brought up a good point as far as the insurance. Oh, I'm like, I think I know that person who's typing too. I'm assuming that's Miss Katie and hey girl. So you brought up a good point as far as insurance, right? And I do want to point out that, depending on your county, depending on your state, you can always check with your county or state as far as grants that are offered. I know that the Broward County, they offer grants for those that are, dealing with trauma, those that need to speak to a healthcare professional, and they'll have it where the state will pay for it, and you can meet with a professional therapist every week, twice a week, depending on the crisis, for free. So that's good to know. And aside from the insurance, and I do want to point this out too, aside from the insurance, it does still go back to the level of commitment and engagement from the client, because you can have insurance. I've seen all the time how parents are literally will make their children go to therapy. And, I'm going to sit with them and I'm going to do my best, but if if, and listen, my company, they train us to where if the client does not want therapy, we do look to discharge them. Now, I will say with me, I do try a little bit harder because sometimes it just might be, that one more session or that one more minute or that one more word that just might, but we can only do so much too.
Right. Yeah.
So I know you had talked about medication in the
Yeah.
questions, and I definitely wanted to talk about that. So when it comes to medication, now I am more of what I like to call a holistic therapist, right? Or a holistic clinician. If you are coming to me for medication, you definitely might want to probably look for another therapist because that's not what I'm going to go to right away. I want to try holistic approaches. I want to, talk about your diet, talk about your exercise. I know, I'm not where I need to be, but this is not about me.
Right.
This is about you and what you need to do, right? So I want to talk about your diet with the things that you're putting into our bodies because those things matter. Exercise is just, as much as I hate it, after I do know that I feel a lot better. What are you, again, starting from a holistic approach, what are you filling your mind with? What are your goals? Sometimes just accomplishing your goals, you'd be amazed at how that could just help your overall health. Sometimes I'll have clients that they don't even know what their goals are. Let's talk about that. What do you enjoy? Listen, a purpose-filled life can be uh, it can definitely put us into a much more peaceful place. Think about it. If you're living a life without purpose,
Mm-hmm.
that's going to be a problem. So how can we make your purpose? How can we fulfill that purpose that you have? How can we get you excited about that purpose that you have? Now, when we and it's a lot of talk therapy, it's a lot of motivational interviewing, it's a lot of you know talking about your past trauma, your childhood, your parents, how were you raised, and being able to really dive deep into the trauma that you've experienced. I have some clients that are still in the midst of their trauma. Those are my hardest clients because ideally we want to be working with clients that have dealt with trauma in the past. So when you're working with a client that is currently dealing with trauma, but medication,
Mm-hmm.
when we've exhausted all resources and there's just no improvement, I have my clients, when was your last physical? go to your primary care physician. Let's see what's going on. Um, when we've kind of just crossed off every technique, nothing seems to be working, the client's not getting better. Okay, fine. Or especially if the client's getting worse, let's look into medication. Let's take that route. Now, with the medication, you want to be very careful about that as well, because the important thing with medication is compliance. You can't take the medication all willy-nilly, take it this day, forget it this day, abruptly stop taking it. And my biggest issue with medication, and I'm not going to say this for all medical professionals, but psychiatrists are the one that are generally writing the prescriptions, right? So to just go and get these prescriptions filled and you're taking it, I've had clients that have been on medication for years but will still be depressed. So then why are you not talking to your psychiatrist about what you're experiencing? So that way the psychiatrist can say, okay, do we need to look at increasing your dosage? Do we need to look at changing the medication? Maybe we don't have the right cocktail. But having that conversation with your psychiatrist is so important, because you don't want to just have a prescription pusher. Here's your refill. Okay,
Yeah.
have a good day. No, no. You want to have consistent visits with your psychologist. Your psychiatrist. You want to have sit down conversations, and this is where the transparency comes in. This is where the open and honesty comes in. Talk about what you are feeling. If you are on a new medication, letting your what it is that you're feeling with that new medication. But yes, the important thing is to, not kind of just do what you want at your own, will with the medication, because as we know, medication has side effects as well.
Yeah. So one thing I'm going to ask you, um, I've heard someone say everything. Someone that is depressed, tried all the things that their therapist has given them to do, uh, even medication, and they're still in that state. What what do you do? What can you do?
So that at that point, I talk to them about I usually go into their religion or their spirituality. Um, and hopefully that will get us somewhere, because especially in the Black community, and I won't just say the Black community, this can be other communities as well, but I know, listen, Black community is what I'm more familiar with.
Mhm.
And what I do know is, when it comes to the Black community, we have very rarely denied the power of God and the power of prayer. So when we have exhausted everything else, what does your spiritual life look like?
Mhm.
What does your spiritual beliefs look like? You know, I've in several sessions have, when I can't think of what else to do professionally, I'll start praying for my clients. Okay. You know, what does your relationship look like with God? Do you pray? Do you believe? Now, I also have clients that are atheists. Okay. So that brings on another, whew,
Oh wow.
you got to get creative. You got to get creative, and what I do know is that there's no cookie cutter way of breakthroughs for individuals. It's just not. But again, going back to that initial connection with your therapist, it's important for me to be so in tune to my clients that from the moment they come in, I can tell when their energy's off. I can tell when they're in a great mood. Like, I want to be so connected with them that whatever it is that they're experiencing, I want them to be able to say to me, listen, I've tried this and I've tried that. Um, then I also have clients to create hope boxes. Um,
Okay.
it can be done like a physical box, where you just each week you're putting what you're hopeful for into that box, right?
Hmm.
And that is generally supposed to help you when on those times when the challenges are getting extremely hard. You go to that box to remind yourself because sometimes people forget what they're hopeful for. So I always like to think that it's my job to kind of remind them that you do have things to be hopeful for. And what about this? What do you think about, you know, this that you have going on? Sometimes we just need reminders. Sometimes it takes like one. You ever like wake up one morning and then you like stub your toe on the side of the bed and you burn your toes like, and now you've just accepted that, okay, today's just a bad day.
Yeah.
I'm having a bad day. No, those are just one or two things that happen to you. Doesn't mean that you're having a bad day. But even I myself, I have to teach myself and constantly remind myself that it starts here. It really
Hmm.
does. And the more we are we deciding that here is going to be a cheerleader, or is it going to be our biggest enemy? At the end of the day, I do have to let clients know, listen, you're the author of your story,
Hmm.
and it's going to be up to you on which one you want to win. Do you want the cheerleader to win? You know,
Right.
it's up to you. And although it seems just that simple, some days it just has to be just that simple, just a choice. Now, I understand that. Am I going to be able to save every single client that I have? I know I'm going to work damn hard to do so. But
Right.
I also let clients know that I can't want it more than you. We've got to be able to fight together. So that's pretty much it.
Oh, good. Well, we said we're doing 45. What I want to do is before we close, can you give us some things to do as far as like if we're feeling down or something, that can help us through the week, and also
Yeah.
what we do and how we can connect with if someone is interested in like with you to get therapy.
Right, right. So currently, I'm only taking Medicaid clients right now. So, but if someone needs to be referred who has like commercial insurance, you can always reach out to me at Therapy for Life, and that's THERA_PY, the number 4 Life, LIFE, on IG. Um, but as far as, things to just kind of get us through the week, as simple as this may sound, I do want to just reiterate those 5 senses again, because again, we're given those 5 senses for a reason. They're not just there just to have, they're there for a reason. And this is how, when you tap into those 5 senses, that's who you tap into being alive,
Mhm.
you know? Also, I like to challenge those that do listen to this, and I love to ask, including you, when's the last time you did something that you've never done before?
Mm. I would say maybe a month ago.
Okay, can I
Um,
ask what you did?
I decided to take myself to a boxing match.
Love
Wanted to
it.
live boxing match. I'm usually not the person to go by myself, so I took myself to the live boxing match at the Hard Rock.
I love that. I love it. Listen, and it doesn't have to be anything extravagant. Social media makes us think that, you know, we've got to do things extravagantly in order to be having our best life. No,
Yeah.
they can be something simple, but definitely for the first time.
Mhm.
Um, just really just kind of setting goals for yourself, being able to rediscover yourself. Because, you know, life is about evolution. We're constantly evolving, we're constantly changing,
That's
identifying things that you are good at, because when you identify things that you're good at, you know, we're all good at different things for a reason, right? We all have our unique talents, we all have our unique gifts, and it's really a opportunity for you to just kind of sit back and say, why is it that I'm so great at this, or why is it that I'm so great at that, and explore that, because what talent you have it for a reason. And again, I'm just talking, this can be applied whether you're spiritual or not, right? And I just love to think that our gifts, our talents are divinely given, and they're divinely given to us for a reason. So as long as we're able to identify those things and apply them to our lives to help us with purpose, it just helps puts things into perspective. Also, what I ask clients all the time, what does your self-care look like? What does your self-care look like? It doesn't have to be, you know, going to a spa, although that sounds great. You know, sometimes my self-care could be as simple as, you know, doing my own pedicure at home. I don't know, just whatever that may look like. Having a Epsom salt bath. I don't know, but taking the time to love on ourselves, that's also very important. But those five senses, we have those five senses for a reason, and we want to be able to utilize them in a pleasurable way.
Well, that
That's,
sounds good.
like I said,
I'm
my favorite one is taste. So
a self care.
yeah, self-care, um, you know, setting goals for yourself, and not to mention, don't forget having optimistic perspectives eternally, because it's easy to think negatively. Anybody could think negatively, but it takes
Yeah,
the same energy to think negatively or positively. So why not put the energy into the one that's more pleasurable?
absolutely.
Why not?
Absolutely. That is my philosophy of life. Be
Yeah.
optimistic about everything.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm gonna leave you with this too, because I know we said we're gonna go. I have a new client, right? She's 13, and she's in foster care, and she was found in an abandoned car a few years ago, right? And I I'm so intrigued by her because we've met a couple of times, and we do what's called CFARS, which is like a children family assessment rating scale, where you just kind of rate each client on different, uh, it could be different things, like you rate them on depression, you rate them on anxiety, you rate them on cognitive performance, you rate them on stress related to trauma. You do all these different ratings, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she pretty much, oh, I also know from her from her shelter mom or foster mom, that she doesn't have any family. You know, she's kind of a loner. She doesn't have any friends. And when I met with her, you know, I'm almost expecting her to just be like, you know, this overly depressed individual, or I expected her assessment that I was doing to be completely high. You know what I found interesting about her?
She's optimistic.
Everything is kind of like you're kind of self-evaluating. So everything she answers, every answer I get is from the client, right?
Mm-hmm.
So each answer she gives me, it's like she's not depressed, she has no anxiety, she has no stress from trauma. It's like she's just like, listen, I'm dealing with life, with what life has dealt me,
Hmm.
She's like, I know that nobody's here to save me, and I'm just going through life. I'm just going through life to get through the next step. She talked about her goals for her future, and not to minimize what other people go through, because I know that we can all go through things on our own.
Hmm.
Who I expected to be the most traumatized was the least phased by what life has dealt her. And why I found it so interesting, because a lot of my clients, especially the adult ones, are kind of dealing with trauma, what I like to call mea culpa, the Latin term, through my own fault. They're dealing with things that, and I'm not going to say that's all clients, but in some cases, it's through their own fault of things that they're dealing with, their own choices.
Right.
But she's taken what life has dealt her, and she's not making any excuses for it. She's not woe is meing. She's just like, listen, this is my life at this point, and I'm just going to deal with it as it comes. And every time I hang up with her, I just have to cry because I'm just like, I just find it amazing how someone so young has built a mindset of, I am still choosing to be optimistic when,
Yeah.
and in my mind, I'm thinking, but girl, you have every right to not be optimistic. She's like, no, but I'm okay. I will be optimistic.
That's great. That is great because there's a lot of adults very optimistic and has had less things going on in life. So that's
So,
great.
so that goes back to, again, mindset. Mindset. Hey, Randy. I'm just looking at some familiar names that I see out here. But yes, I just wanted to end with that because she's so impactful, and I don't even think she realizes how much she just empowers me, honestly. So,
Well, I thank you so much for
yes, it
taking the
is.
time out today.
Of course,
Hopefully,
of course.
we can do this again.
I
Um,
agree.
and I'll try to have more live sessions with some others as well. Um, just kind of want to talk about mental health and how we're dealing with life in this day and age. There's a lot
Right.
that we're dealing with.
Yeah.
And
Because, I
this-
mean, listen, there's a lot going on. And listen, we all could take on the mindset of, woe is me, and have, hopefully not suicidal ideations, but definitely get to a place of hopelessness.
yeah,
But I'm just learning to, even for myself, to just continue to just be optimistic, because, life has its way of bringing you joy and bringing you pain and bringing you peace. Listen, it's seasons. It's seasons. It's
it
always going
is.
to be changing. It's forever changing. But I just want to learn to be optimistic in whatever season I'm in.
Yes, yes, yes. So you can follow. So Tammy, where can we follow you?
So again, therapy for life. That's THERA_PY, the number 4, LIFE on Instagram.
And you can follow Behind the Smiles at Behind the Smiles Foundation on IG. I started TikTok. It'll be the same thing that's on IG, Facebook. And also, if you like to give the gift of therapy, we do have where you can donate anything, not a set price. So whatever you give, you're giving from the heart. It's to help someone else. Give the gift of therapy. It is on the site of behindthesmilesfoundation.org. And hope to see you again.
I love
Hit me
it.
with any questions or anything, or contact Tami if you have any questions dealing with therapy. And hope you all have a great Sunday.
Yes, I'll be in Broward soon, so I'm gonna have to make some time to come and see you. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right,
Absolutely.
darling. Have a great day.
Bye bye.
Okay. Bye.